Hello my yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach and welcome back to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet our chunky cotton drawstring bag. It is perfect for the beach, for shopping, or just to use for your purse. It's a nice size. It measures about 14 inches tall and it's about 22 inches around. And I always say about because it really depends on how tightly that you stitch. This is made of cotton. It's a bulky number 5 cotton and it works up super fast. If you don't have the bulky number 5 cotton, you can always use 2 strands of medium weight number 4 and get similar results. I decided to go with the drawstring because that's my favorite kind of bag. And I also added at the end of the video how to add some really simple tassel styles to your drawstrings and some fun beads. It gives it a little bit of a boho look, I think, but I don't care if it does or not. I like it. The other thing I really love about this bag is the way that we're stitching it, where we get this sort of spiraling effect with our chain 2 spaces. And it's a good sturdy bag because we start with those single crochet rows at the bottom. Now, you can find the complete pattern with lots of pictures on my blog. And as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make the chunky drawstring beach bag, or of course, bag you want to use for anything, you're going to need some bulky cotton. Now this cotton is from Yarn Bee. That's a Hobby Lobby brand. And it is a bulky number 5. And we're using a bulky number 5 because, again, we're trying to get rid of yarns in our yarn stash. Now I have it in this buttercream color. This is kind of a lavender gray. And then this one is sort of a mint green. I don't have the labels for those anymore, because of course they were used for other project and I wanted to put it in with this project to make our bag striped. All right, so this is a great yarn stash busting project. If you don't have the bulky number 5 yarns, you can use any cotton. Just hold those 2 strands together, medium weight number 4. Hold 2 strands together and it will stitch up just about the same size. And of course that depends on how tightly that you stitch. You're going to need about 10 to 11 ounces of the bulky number 5 cotton yarn, which is about 150 yards. If you're using 2 strands of medium weight number 4 cotton held together, you're going to need twice that in your yardage because you're going to need to do that twice. Okay? But I have not worked this bag up using 2 strands of the cotton yarn, medium 4, so that's going to be kind of up to you. But it's a good way to get in that yarn stash and use up some extra and leftover yarns. All right, so the bag that I'm making today is made with a bulky 5 cotton yarn. One thing to remember is you can find similar yarns from Premier Yarn. You can also find it on Hirschner's and Lion brand that I have seen, and I'm sure there are some other companies that have a bulky 5 cotton yarn. We're going to be stitching today with our end hook, which is a 9mm crochet hook. You need a nice big needle for weaving in ends and then a pair of scissors. I'm going to start with my lemon yellow, or buttercream as it's called, because I like yellow. And one thing you'll notice in the pattern is that the color changes are not indicated in the pattern, because you can change colors as often as you want to. When you do, make sure you do your chain 3 after your color change. All right, so we're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to loosely chain 22 chains. Now it's important not to pull this too tightly because this is the bottom of our bag and we don't want the bottom of our bag to be all pulled in and puckered. All right, so I'm going to chain 22 chains just a little bit loose. So I have chained 22 chains, just a little bit loose, and we're going to begin by placing a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. And then we'll place one single crochet in each of the chains working across until we reach that last chain. And then we'll place two single crochets in the last chain. All right, so one single crochet in each of our chains across. So I started in the second chain from the hook and stitched a single crochet in each of my chains across until I reached the last chain. In this last chain, we're going to stitch two single crochets. 1 and 2. So we'll have 22 across this first side. So now we're going to turn our work and we're going to work across what's called the opposite side or other side of the chain. All right, so we'll go right in that first chain and stitch one single crochet. And then we'll stitch one single crochet in each of those chains across. And then when we get to the last chain, like we did on the other side, we'll stitch two single crochets. All right, so one single crochet in each of the chains across, and then two single crochets in that last one. So again, I've stitched one single crochet in each of my chains across, and then in this last chain, we're going to stitch two single crochets, 1 and 2. Now we're going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch and chain 1. And so the way that row 1 should look is we have 22 single crochets on this side and 22 single crochets on this side. So we'll have a total of 44 single crochets around. So let's do round 2. Now this yarn is a little bit bumpy, and so it might be a little bit more difficult to see your stitches. So I'll turn it up just a little bit so I can see that little braid where it looks like a braid, so to know where to put my stitches. And what we're going to do is just put one single crochet in each of those 44 single crochets around. We won't be adding any more stitches. One single crochet in each of the single crochets working all the way around. And we want this to be nice and sturdy because this is the bottom of our tote bag. This is where our flip-flops or our fruit's going to be. And it needs to be sturdy on the bottom. All right, so I'm going to do one single crochet in each of those single crochets all the way back around and join to my first single crochet. I stitched one single crochet in each of the single crochets around, so I have 44 single crochets. I'm going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch and chain 1. Now we want to take the bag and flip it out this way. This is our outside of our bag, and we need to weave that end in, but we'll do that after a bit. All right, so what we're going to do for the next 3 rows is we're going to repeat row 2. We're going to stitch one single crochet in each of the single crochets working all the way around our bag, and then we'll join back to that first single crochet with a slip stitch and chain 1. Now it's very important that you count your stitches on each row, because this is where we can sometimes accidentally add or subtract a stitch, and we want to make sure that when we get finished with our 5th row, because we're repeating this 3 more times, that we have 44 single crochets on each row. All right, so we're going to repeat row 2 for 3 more rows. So I repeated row 2 3 more times. So we have a total of 5 rows of single crochet around, and we should have 44 single crochets on each row. After we joined on the last time, we need to chain 3 because now we're going to start some of our double crochet rows. All right, so what we're going to do is this double crochet counts as our first double crochet, and now we're going to double crochet in the next 8 stitches. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, so our chain 3 counted as our first, and then we stitched 8 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 9 double crochets. We're going to chain 2. We're going to skip the next 2 stitches and then stitch 1 double crochet in the next 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, let's make sure we only stitch 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so again, we'll chain 2, skip 2, and double crochet in the next 9. And we're going to do this 2 more times. All right, so we'll stitch 9, chain 2, skip 2 stitches, 9, chain 2, skip 2 stitches, and repeat that 2 more times. So I repeated that 2 more times. So we have 4 sets of 9 double crochet, chain 2, skip 2. Here's my last 9 double crochets, chain 2, skip the last 2. I'm going to join to that chain 3, and then I'm going to slip stitch in the next double crochet, and then slip stitch in the next double crochet. And I'm going to be changing color, so I'm not going to do my chain 3 yet. But if you're not changing colors, go ahead and chain 3. Now I'm not going to cut my yarn because I'm going to trail it up on the inside of my bag. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my gray, or this sort of lavender gray, and I'm going to pull that up and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, so we slip stitched in those first 2, and then in the third one, and then that third one lines up with that double crochet. All right, and this is the way that this row, which is row 6, should look. You've got 4 sets of 9 double crochet, chain 2, skip 2. We joined to our chain 3 with a slip stitch, then slip stitched in the next 2 double crochets, and then chain 3. Now for row 7, we're going to do exactly what we did on row 6. We've moved over a little bit, so it's going to stagger our openings. Okay, so our chain 3 counts as our first, and then we'll double crochet in the next 8, so that we'll have 9 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we can't stitch in double crochet, so we're going to put 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space. 1, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 double crochets. We have 7 and then the 2 in the chain 2 space. We're going to chain 2. We'll skip the next 2 double crochets and repeat. So we're going to stitch 9 double crochets, 1 in each of the next 7, and then 2 in the chain 2 space. And you can see by using this bulky yarn and this 9mm crochet hook that this bag is going to stitch up really quickly. All right, so we've stitched 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to stitch 2 in the chain 2 space, 1 and 2, and chain 2, and repeat what we just did 2 more times and join back to our chain 3. And see how those chain 2 spaces are staggered? That's exactly what we want it to do. So I completed row 7. You can see our chain 2 spaces are staggered. Okay, so at the end of row 7, here's our 2 double crochets in our chain 2 space. We chain 2. We're going to join to the chain 3 with a slip stitch. Make sure I got the right string there. Now we're going to slip stitch in the next 2 double crochets. And if you're not changing colors, go ahead and chain 3. But I'm bringing in this sort of mint green. Maybe it's more of a jade green. Either way, I really like it. So I brought it in and I'm going to chain 3. There we go. 1, 2, and 3. All right, so now we're just going to repeat what we did on row 7. So our chain 3 counts as 1, and we'll double crochet 7. 1, 2, whoops, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there's our 7. Because remember, our chain 3 counts as our first, and then we stitch 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to stitch 2 in the chain 2 space. 1, 2. So that gives us 9. Just to repeat, our chain 3 counted as 1. We stitched 6, and then 2 more in the chain 2 space, which gave us 9. And now we're going to chain 2. We're going to skip the next 2 and stitch 1 double crochet in the next 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we'll stitch 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space, and that will give us 9 double crochets. My yarn's getting a little tangly there. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 2 is 9. Chain 2, skip 2, and repeat 2 more times. Let's look back at the front here. I want you to see how this is staggering our chain 2 spaces up our bag, and it will do that on all 4 of those sets. So I have repeated row 8, and you can see our chain 2 spaces have rotated again, and that's what they're going to continue to do. We join to our chain 3, we slip stitch in the next 2 double crochets, and then we chain 3, and that's what causes the rotation of our chain 2 around our bag. All right, you still have 4 sets of 9 double crochet, chain 2. We do 7 and then 2 in that chain 2 space, and then chain 2, skip 2. And so what you're going to do is you're going to continue to repeat row 8 for 7 more rows, or more if you want a longer bag. All right, you'll continue to rotate those chain 2 spaces around your bag in all 4 of our sets. So bottom line, we're going to repeat row 8 for 7 more rows. So I have completed those 7 additional rows, and you can see it makes a really nice big bag, but also those chain 2 spaces as they rotate around just make a really pretty and lovely pattern on our bag. So what I wanted to show you is, because I striped all my rows and I left them attached, I wanted you to see on the inside of my bag I have them trailed up, and I like that better than cutting them and weaving them in every time. Now I cut off the last 2 colors here, and those are weaved in as well, and I'm leaving my yellow because I'm going to finish off the top of my bag in yellow like I did the beginning of my bag. All right, so what we're going to do, we're on row 16 now, is we're just going to place a double crochet in each of the double crochets and chain 2 spaces, and that's going to bring us back to 44 stitches. Now don't worry about where your join is, it's not going to matter because this of course is a drawstring bag. All right, so we've joined right to that first chain 3. We're not going to slip stitch over on this next row, which whatever length that you did, if you added more rows for length, on that last row just join to your chain 3 and chain 3. Don't slip stitch over, because we're just going to place a double crochet in each of the double crochets and 2 double crochets in the chain 2 spaces, so that we have a solid row of double crochet on our bag. All right, so there's my double crochets. Now I'm at my chain 2 space, so I'm going to stitch 2 double crochets, 1 and 2 in the chain 2 space, and then we'll just keep on going with 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around and 2 double crochets in each of the chain 2 spaces. Again, this will give us a solid row of double crochets. I stitched 1 double crochet in each double crochet, 2 in each of the chain 2 spaces all the way around. So now I'm going to join to that chain 3 with a slip stitch, chain 3, and just stitch 1 double crochet in each, my bag's slipping, sorry, 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around. And this will give us a nice sturdy top to our bag. So again, I'm just stitching 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets, working all the way around our bag. So I have completed that row of just 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around, and now we just have 1 more row left. So I join to my chain 3, there we go, and we're only going to chain 1, and we're going to stitch a single crochet in each of the double crochets around, and that's going to give it a nice sturdy edge for our drawstring bag. All right, now I did not change colors for these 3 rows. If you want to change colors, you certainly can. Just remember to do your chain 3 or chain 1 after the color change, because that chain 3 counts as the first stitch on the next row. All righty, so we're just going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those double crochets working all the way around our bag. I have stitched that one row of single crochet all the way around. I'm going to join to that first single crochet, cut my yarn. I'm going to put my hook in that next loop and pull that loop to the inside and tie that off. All right, so now we get a much better looking finish. And then the last thing we need to do on the bag is just weave our ends in. And again, if you changed colors, you might have a few more ends to weave in. So I'm going to tidy up my bag, and then I'll show you how to make that fun drawstring. I always say fun when it comes to drawstrings because I think they're more fun than a regular handle. But sometimes a regular handle is needed. So here is my completed bag, and I just absolutely love it. I love the way the chain twos worked out with the spiral effect, and I also love the striping on it. And of course, you can stripe yours however that you want to. But this is the way that it should look when the bag is complete. Now we need to do the drawstring. And I decided, since I finished off in the yellow, I'm going to use my other two colors that I've been using for this bag. And you're going to need to use 2 strands of yarn. If you're making this with your medium weight 4 and you're holding 2 strands, you'll probably want to hold 4 strands together because you want a good sturdy drawstring. So the drawstring is super easy. We're going to leave these strands long, about 6 or 8 inches. And then we're going to begin with our slip knot, holding those 2 strands together. And this time we're going to chain just a little bit tighter. And so we're going to chain 100 chains or more if you want your drawstring to be longer, or less if you prefer a shorter drawstring. But I'm going to do 100 chains, and that's going to give me the size chain that I want for my drawstring. And again, I'm using 2 strands of my bulky number 5. So I have chained my 100 chains using 2 strands of yarn, and I'm going to cut this strand a little bit long. Now I'm going to go ahead and tie off the ends. And I'm going to make a knot in the end. Let me do the other end, tie a knot in that end. This is just going to keep that chain from coming undone. Now before I add it to my bag, I'm going to show you how to add some strands on and some beads so that the ends of the string or drawstring look a little bit like it has a tassel on the end of each one. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a strand each of the 2 colors that I'm using, as well as the 3rd color, so that all of the colors from the bag will show. And I'm going to cut that about 10 inches long. And that's probably longer than we need, but we need some room for some knots. All right, I'm not going to cut those off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hook through that last chain, and I'm going to pull those 3 strands that I just caught right through there. And it's going to be tight because we put that knot on there, but I wanted that knot on there. Just ease it through. There we go. And then I only want to pull in one side of the 3 so that it hangs down. All right. So now we have all these strands that are hanging down. I'm going to cut a piece of yarn. And I'm using the yellow so we can bring out the yellow so that we have all the colors. And I'm going to snug that up right by that knot that we tied in the bottom and tie a knot. So now we have a tassel or a tassel. Tassel, tassel, tassel. My grandmother always said tassel, and I have a tendency to say that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to grab a smaller crochet hook or a needle, whichever you prefer. Make sure your needle can get through the beads that you have chosen. And we're just going to add some of those beads on, just to make it fun. All right, so I put that bead on, and I'm going to tie it like this. And then that'll slide down to there. And you don't have to put one on every strand. It's just kind of something fun to add a little bit of, make it look a little bit like a boho bag or something. I don't really know exactly what that trend is because I'm not very trendy. But I wanted to add some fun beads just because I think it looks really cute. All right. And I've got 4 for each end of my chain. I'm only going to do the one end, and then I'll put it through the bag, and then I'll do the other end because I think it might make it kind of hard to pull through our bag. Okay, so let's just do the one end. I wanted to show you how it was done. Okay, so I guess I just have 3 for this end, and we'll put 4 on the other end. I'll go ahead and add one more bead. I thought I grabbed 8. I'll look again, see if I have another bead. But they don't have to be exactly the same, of course. All right, and so I'm just tying a knot between 2 of the threads. Whoops, let me get that right. That'll work. So that the beads stay on. And it just kind of gives it a fun look. All right, let me show you how to add the drawstring. Now, you need to decide where you want your ties to be. You want them on the side, in the middle, on the back, where you would like your drawstrings to be. So I'm going to work mine onto the side, and so I'm going to work across the back first. All right, so what I like to do is use my crochet hook, and I'm going to use this as my side, and I'm going to go in every 2 of the stitches on the last double crochet row. And this is why you didn't want to put those beads on yet, because you wouldn't be able to get them through. It'd just be too much work. All right, so then we'll go 2, 2, 2, 2. So I laced my drawstring through, going through every 2 stitches over to the side. Now, of course, you can put it on the front if you want to, however you want to do yours. And I added more beads. This side, I only could find those 3 beads. I don't know what happened to them. I'm going to trim this just a little. I don't want it to be perfect, but I don't want it to be out of whack either. All right, so what I'm going to do is, this is decorative, and so I want it to hang over to the side of my bag. But I don't want it to be even. I want one to be a little longer than the other. All right, so I'm going to take this, and I'm going to wrap it around and pull those through. All right, push it up just a little. And give it a nice, good, hard tug. All right, so that's going to hang on this side of my bag. So I'm going to pull it this way and see how that's going to hang. And then I can carry my bag from this drawstring. Isn't that fun? I just love this bag. I love how it turned out, and I can't wait to start using it.